This video is going to demonstrate center short rows that start wide and get narrower as they go up. All the details for making this swatch, including all the stitch counts and full written instruction, is all up on my blog, so please refer to that if you're getting lost in this tutorial. So to start off with, I've made 20 chains and then I've made 2 rows of 20 stitches as my base. So for the first center short row, we're going to pick up 15 TSS stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So I have 16 loops on my hook, and I have 4 stitches that I haven't worked. So that includes the edge stitch. So there's my edge. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 4 that I haven't worked. Now just under here, I've got 2 piles of stitch markers. So I'm going to be making 3 short rows. So I'm going to work with markers so that you can see how everything works. So when you finish working a forward pass, you pop a marker into the front and the back loops of the loop that's on your hook. Okay. Well, apologies, a bit tricky to see there because I've got the camera very close to my work there. So there's that first marker. Okay, so for the return pass, we don't do any chain ones on short row return passes. You can, there's other versions of doing it but for this, I prefer this method, so I'm just going to teach you the one method. So the return pass for this is yarn over, pull through 2 11 times. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, now I have 5 loops on my hook, one of which is the live loop. I'm going to pop a stitch marker into the live loop. Okay, and I'm using 2 different colors. It's really easy to tell them apart. Okay, so my purple stitch marker will be used for the live loop at the end of the return pass. So that is the first short row finished. Okay, and we're going to work 2 more. Okay, so the next one is row 4, and we're going to work, I want to work 9 TSS, but we want to work with markers. So I'm going to count, but I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now in the instructions it says TSS until, I've actually just written my instructions, so I'm just going to skim through. TSS up to 2 stitches before the mark stitch. So there's my mark stitch, the edge stitch, and 1 more TSS. So there's 1, 2 that I haven't worked, okay, but I worked 9 stitches. Okay, so I'm going to pop my marker. Keep that at the front. I'm going to pop my marker. So look, I've just finished the forward pass of the 4th row, okay, and I pop my marker into that front and back loop. Okay, there it is. Because see, there's nothing happening over here. So I have how many stitches unworked? I have got 6 loops unworked, so I'll show you how to count them. So there's the edge, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You see that? There's my 6. Okay, so the return pass is going to be yarn over, pull through 2 until 2 stitches before the marked stitch. Okay, and in the table that's on my blog, it actually says how many yarn over, pull through 2s. So for this one, it's actually 7. Okay, but I want to show you that it's when you get to the 7, you've got 2 stitches before the mark stitch. So it's yarn over, pull through 2. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so there's the mark stitch, and there's the TSS there, and there's my live loop. Okay, and if you refer to my table, it will tell you how many loops you'll have on your hook. Okay, so 2, 4, 6, 7. Okay, Now we need a marker in the live loop. Now, when you get really comfy with working center short rows, you may not need markers. I don't use markers generally, unless I'm getting muddled up, but it makes it so much easier to see what to do and where. Okay, so we have finished the second short row, which is row 4, and now we're going to work row 5, which is the third short row. So we're going to TSS up to 2 stitches before the marked stitch. Okay, and just a reminder that we're working really similarly to if you weren't working short rows. So you know how when you have, just pretend this is your edge stitch, if you were working just a standard row, you would never work in this stitch here unless the pattern tells you to. Okay, we're going to work into the second vertical bar from the live loop or the edge stitch. Okay, so that marker's getting in the way. We work into that one. 1, and I'll count 2, 3, 4, and 5, and oh look, we're 2 stitches before the marked stitch. So there's my marked 1, 2. Okay, pop a marker in. Sorry about my hands there, guys. It's getting a bit awkward. Okay, so I have finished the forward pass of 3 short rows because 1, 2, 3. Now I need to do the return pass of the last short row. So we're going to yarn over, pull through 2 until 2 stitches before the marker. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. So there's 2 stitches before the marker, and I'll pop the marker into my live loop, which I've just gotten lost. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. So I know that I've completed 3 return passes and 3 forward passes because I've got 3 return pass markers and 3 forward pass markers over here. I hope that makes sense. So over here, I'll just stop before I proceed any further. Okay, so here's my 2 foundation rows. So remember, there's my foundation and there's essentially row 2 above that. And here's the first short row here. So I'll lay this nice and flat. Just tilt the camera down because I've got this on an angle. Okay, so there's my row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, and row 5. Okay, now I have finished the return pass of the 5th row. Okay, and I still have loops on my hook. Now I'm going to work row 6 next, which is going to TSS along here all the way to the end. Okay, now these loops that are on the hook, which are the edge stitches essentially of each of the rows, will form the forward pass loops of row 6. Okay, so we've already got them on our hook. Okay, so the forward pass of row 6 is really another short row. Okay, which I'll show you. Now, I do recommend that you have already looked at my forward pass short rows and my return pass short rows just for the techniques. I will go over them again in this video, but it's helpful to know. Now, what you'll see is that we're going to work on this row 6. We need to work all the way along here, which includes each of these marked green stitches. So they are the edge stitches of each forward pass. All right, so we pick up each of the vertical bars. There's 1, 2. Okay, now we've reached the marked stitch. So we're going to pop the hook under the 2 loops that are being marked. Okay, I'll take this marker out just to get it out of the way. Okay, then we work into the next stitch. And I've got to a marked stitch again. So this is where the markers help, so that you don't have to go digging for those pesky little edge stitches, which are tricky to find here because we haven't got a chain 1. Okay, so you can pull on that marker and just pop your hook under it. It makes it super easy to do. Get rid of that marker. And I've got another TSS here. And then here I'm up to another marked stitch. Sometimes it's harder to look through my camera, which is an iPhone, than it is to look at the actual stitches. So that's why it might look a little bit awkward. Okay, so I've run out of marked stitches and I just TSS to the end. Okay, and edge stitch just like normal into the front and back loops. Okay, so there is the forward pass of row 6, and it looks a bit funky at the moment because we've got these extra stitches here. Now see, I've still got marked stitches over here, and that's where we need to work the crossed or twisted return pass. I really should settle on a name for that. It's not a technique that I've invented, but it doesn't have a name, so I'm just going to refer to it. I naturally just refer to it as a twisted stitch. So just sorry, while I was talking, I've just done a chain 1. So we're back to standard return pass until we get to a marked stitch. Okay, so chain 1, yarn over, pull through 2 until you get to a marked stitch. Oh look, I'm up to a marked stitch. So we're going to work the twisted or crossed return pass stitch. So just a reminder, we pop our hook out of the live loop, and then we pick up the vertical bar directly under the marked stitch, and then pick up the live loop again. So see, it has crossed those 2 stitches there, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops. Okay, and there's that marked stitch there. You can leave that marker in if you want to. They get in the way for me. So yarn over, pull through 2 until we get to the next marked stitch. So here we are. Okay, so there's the marked stitch, and we're going to pick up this vertical bar after we pull out the live loop, pick up the vertical bar under the marked stitch, pick up the live loop, and then we bring all 3. So 1, 2, 3 off the hook. Okay, I'll get rid of that marker. That was a boo-boo. Yarn over, pull through 2 until we get to the marked stitch. I'm going to get rid of the marker first. So hook out of the live loop, pick up the vertical bar under the marked stitch, which I've just taken out, and then hook back into the live loop. Yarn over, pull through all 3, and then we yarn over, pull through 2 until we get to the end. Okay, so there's our curve. Lovely, lovely curve. Now there's one more thing that you need to know. So we're on row 7 now, and if you're counting rows, you need to count them up the middle, not the edges. So see the edges, we've only got 1, 2, 3, and over on this edge, 1, 2, 3. Okay, but in the middle we should have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we're going to work row 7, which is the last row. So row 7 it's a standard TSS row, but you need to be mindful of arriving at those twisted or crossed stitches, which is this one here. I hope you can see that. It's a bit lumpy, but there's essentially 2 strands of yarn there. You pop your hook under both of them. And when you've done enough of these, it should be second nature. There's another one. So along here, because we're increasing by 2, it's going to be every second for 3. So I've done all 3 there. And then it's as simple as TSS all the way along. Okay. Just to speed it up, I need to look over my phone. You probably can't tell that I'm doing that now, but something about looking through that screen that makes it feel weird to pick up the stitches. Some days I can do it easily and other days I can't. Okay, now I will do the bind off because I want you to see how this looks. Sorry, I'm in a return pass. And on my final swatch, I will do bind off And actually, I think I'll do it now just so that you can see it really clearly. This video is getting a bit long, but sometimes it is warranted. Okay, so here we do a slip stitch bind off. I've been corrected not to call it a Tunisian slip stitch because it's actually a different stitch entirely, which I actually didn't know until one of my lovely testers, Mary, pointed it out, who's way more of a technical expert than I am. But I guess it goes to show that you don't need to know absolutely everything about Tunisian to experiment with it. Okay, there's our bind off. You can skip all of this bit if you don't want to watch me doing a bind off. Okay, see, I've already cut this yarn. Okay, so there is our group of 3 center short rows which start wide and get narrower. So what that creates is a curve that the curve is on the bind off row rather than the foundation row. So here's the bind off, this is the foundation row and this is the bind off, and see it curves up there. So yeah, any questions or comments, yeah, please post them in the blog or on my YouTube, and I'm happy to help. Thanks.